Alarmed Pentagon generals can't find peace. They're very disturbed by Russia's new weapons, and even more so by Russia's new secret weapon. Just recently they called them cartoons, now they refer to them as real threats. That's what the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant General Scott Berrier, declared last week. During a hearing on April 29th in U.S. Congress, a clearly disgruntled American general relayed that the Russian Federation is actively modernizing its complex for the production of nuclear warheads, and produces literally hundreds of them every year. The head of the Pentagon's intelligence agency told the senator that Russia's military might is the result of its investments in its nuclear arsenal and its development, as well as its conventional forces mainly designated for defensive and regional operations. Russia is increasing its capability to project power using high-precision long-range cruise missiles and limited expeditionary capability. And the Russians are succeeding at it, he added. In the U.S. Congress, the issue about some secret Russian weaponry was also discussed. Initially, Pentagon representatives briefed a special committee of the Congress about the use of what they called mystical rays by Russians against American military personnel. Two committees of the Congress were presented with reports that included information about the damage suffered by Americans due to mysterious radiation exposure in Syria in 2020. Now the investigation into Russian attacks using undisclosed beams is in full swing. They are trying to determine how many Americans were injured. According to experts from the NSA and CIA, the circumstances surrounding these incidents are so unclear that it's hard to even identify the type of weapon used. Yet in terms of theory, the Americans have made strides. For example, they are convinced that attacks utilizing high-energy electromagnetic radio frequencies or microwave beams need to be extremely potent to inflict damage on the targeted object. What remains unclear to the Americans is one thing: powerful radiation requires a large-sized power plant. According to the size, they found no trace of a large radiating device in Syria around the afflicted Marines, even though a large area was surveyed, and on the other side of the ocean, in Europe, Western experts remain disturbed by the Russian president's latest speech. Interestingly, out of all of Putin's speeches during his address to the Federal Assembly, they're surprisingly hooked on just one sentence, the one where Putin mentioned the word Poseidon. The Poseidon drone is a part of Putin's genius plan to maintain Russia as a great power. This is reported in his article in the German edition of Redaktionsnetzwerk Deutschland by Mathis Koch. The publication's author notes, Russian President Vladimir Putin once more mentioned the word Poseidon in his address to the Federal Assembly, which greatly concerns the West. According to the Russian leader, the development of a new unmanned weapons system, capable of silently delivering nuclear warheads to distant shores, will proceed as planned by the Russian Federation's armed forces. In early April, the head of the Norwegian Secret Service, Niels Andreas Stensen, he made a statement to American broadcaster CNN claiming that Poseidon is no longer just a plan, it is now undergoing testing. The Norwegian did not specify where exactly his spies saw the Russian weapons, but it's highly likely they are in the far north, Barents Sea, and the Arctic. Matthias Koch recalls that in 2015, when the first statement about Poseidon emerged, many Western experts considered Vladimir Putin's words a bluff. However, it is now clear that this was a mistake. The West now has a detail. They urgently want to know what sound the Poseidon drive makes, according to Koch's publication. The German publication's columnist notes that if NATO cannot find an answer to this question in the long run, Putin's words about the impossibility of stopping Poseidon